Hello, friends, and welcome to Earth is Waking Up. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson. Today we've got our guest is the award-winning author and co-author of a few books, leading by example, following his passion while sharing his wisdom as an educator, speaker, and coach. His extensive topics include health, wealth, and online marketing. As CEO of I Inspire Inc., he inspires you to have your own online presence to live life on your terms, doing what you love. Some of his books include The Facebook Phenomenon. Thank you, Vanna. Essential Nourishment. Your title goes here. The 6M Financial Freedom Formula, Facebook Marketing Secrets, and One in the Works we could talk about at some point. I'd like to welcome today Mike Schryer. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeremy, thank you for so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to add value to you and your audience here because it's all about doing what it is that you love and loving your life because you're doing what you love. So that's what I'm all about.
Great. Yeah, so much of us get caught up in the world of just doing what we're taught to do growing up and forgetting about what we love. So how did you stumble across this idea of doing what you love and putting that as your priority?
Man, that's a great question. I love it. I love it because you know what? I found that today there is no unanswered question. We have Google now. We now can, because of social media, we can follow our mentors. We can follow our leaders that we want to learn from. And so today we can follow the people that are doing what they love, like Elon Musk. Whereas 20 years ago, guess what? You weren't able to really follow these people and see what they're doing. They were unheard of. So you had to read their books. Not only can you read their books today, they often have podcasts, they have Facebook Lives, they have pages, they tell you what they're up to and what they're doing. And it's amazing to see them lead by that example. And because they can do it, you can do it as well. And that's what's so amazing about all this. So when you get to do what you love, that means that you get to find out your strengths. And when you get to do only your strengths, you only get exuberantly better at those strengths. And don't do anything you don't love, which means that you're probably not good at doing the things you don't like to do. So for example, I don't like to clean my house. So I've got a house cleaner. That's what I get, right? And you know, I even live in Canada here, and in winter, I don't like shoveling. So I have a company that comes over and shovels my driveway for me. And the reason that I think this way is because it probably only costs me about $20 for that clearing of the driveway, or you know, $20 an hour, or even my house cleaner only cost me $80. But it would take me 2 days for the amount of the work that she does.
Right.
So I'm much more productive doing what it is that I love to do. And as I'm doing what I love and getting paid for what I love to do, it's so much better than doing something that I would struggle at, trying to make ends meet, not liking what I do. So that's the whole concept behind doing what you love. Only do what you love. Delegate the rest, because there's other people that they like to do that stuff, and have them do it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. What about those, aren't there some things that you still like don't really care to do, but you kind of push yourself to do anyway?
Well, to a certain limit, Jeremy, I actually have an executive assistant. And
Right.
that's what's so beautiful about having an executive assistant, is that you can delegate all those things. So for example, one of my biggest weaknesses is data entry and doing my taxes and bookkeeping. So I just, every time I get mail, every time I get receipts, I just put it all in an envelope, and then I give that to my executive assistant to deal with, and data entry and do all that stuff. So I can't really think about things that I really don't like to do that I actually do, because we live in an era where you don't have to do those things. Now, if it happens that I have to do it, then obviously you could do it, and it would be a stretch, and it wouldn't render me impossible to do. I would still do it. For example, if let's say my cell phone died and I was driving and all of a sudden I got a flat tire. Well, instead of calling CAA or calling a company to change the flat tire, I would probably do it myself. So Is there circumstances where I have to do certain things myself? Sure, there is. But it's this much compared to the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it sounds like a recipe to be able to enjoy life a bit more, to enjoy life this much instead of like this much on the evenings and weekends, if you know.
Exactly. Where I find so many people, they're stuck in that day-to-day activity where they're even in their jobs, 80% of people in corporate don't like their jobs
Yeah,
because they're stuck in a box. So, for example, when I do groceries, I don't do it on the weekends when there's a ton of people. It's like a zoo at the grocery store.
right.
I do it during the week when there's nobody there.
It's so easy then. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So you can
And I've
stop your
designed my
life.
life this way. So
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. And that's one of the things that I found early on is that I got to get into real estate. And real estate investing is one of the best ways to actually make money residually and passively. And what's great about all this is that when you're looking at real estate, it's not taught in school. So you get to learn from it through other modes of learning, continuing education programs that are out there and stuff like that. But I've come up with a system that actually renders me the freedom to collect money. And just like we're talking right now, my bank account keeps growing without me having to do anything because I've already done the work before. So I came across a quote from Andrew Carnegie, and he said, 90% of millionaires become millionaires through investing in real estate. So I thought, hey, if I want to be a millionaire, well, guess what? I should be part of the 90%.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even if you've got other streams, it still makes sense to have a solid one in there. And
Especially real estate, I would say. If you're making money with your job or savings or anything like that, it's good to get your money to work for you. And that's one of the best and easiest ways to do it, and that you get to figure out. Now, real estate can be really high risk if you don't know anything about it. But really, once you get to learn, it's one of the lowest risk things that you could ever get into. Even if there was a downturn in the economy, people still need to rent from you.
yeah, I'd say a much safer risk than a 401k in the stock market that goes up and down at anyone's whim. Like just
Exactly, because you have no control over those things. I have much more control over my real estate portfolio.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So how did you get into being an entrepreneur, an online marketer? Did you work a job? Like, how did you step into this world of freedom where you could kind of design your life that works for you?
Well, to tell you the truth, Jeremy, I got into sales, and in getting into sales from my mentors, they shared with me that reading is so important. So
Yeah,
I started reading, and I started reading Think and Grow Rich and Science of Getting Rich and all these different ways of how the rich think. And they think so much different than my parents and the way that I've been raised, or my uncles or my family. So I was almost like that black sheep in the family, to really stretch myself to find out, well, there's got to be another way.
yeah,
So ever since I was a paper boy, I knew that there was something different about me, that I wanted to spend my time doing what it is that I love and making money doing it. So I really didn't know what an entrepreneur was until my early 20s.
uh-huh.
When I found out that sales is being an entrepreneur, because I write my own ticket in sales.
Yeah,
Ceiling is my own limit. So it's up to me on how much money I want to make and how much I want to work to be able to do it. Unlike an hourly wage, you're trading time for dollars. Versus sales, you can get better at sales and make much more money in a short term.
yeah, for sure. Um, uh, would you say that there are certain personality types that are better at doing that sort of thing? Because when I was young, I got more into the technical stuff. I felt like I had the mind for it. Like I could do all that technical stuff that other people couldn't. And so what I started to realize later was I was feeling kind of trapped by using my mind in something. It didn't pay me as much as like sales. I started realizing how kind of backwards that seemed.
Yeah, yes, that brings up a really good point. So when you're looking at different personalities, it's good to be fully rounded. Now, unfortunately, as a person, you typically have a certain social style or a different personality. And in sales, charismatic personality and the promoter type of personality goes a long way. Um, as an owner of a business, a controller, A-type driver personality is what works best in that sense. As an employee, an analytical person is great because they formulate data in the background. And then there's always the amiable or the supporter kind of personality. And these are people that actually support others in the business. So what I'm saying is in order to get a rounded person like this, it's best to find out what kind of personality you have, and whatever weaknesses that you have, find those people that are their strengths that you can match up with and work together. And that's how you can actually make not only $1 million, but have a fruitful life and relationships. And it's because you get to work with others to get you there, because there is no self-made millionaire. Everyone's had help along the way. And in getting help, it's good to get help from people that those are, are your weakness. That could be their strengths that you can work with them. And that's where bartering services really works well as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you made your first million?
I was about 35 years old. So this is a few years back. And it was really through real estate investing that I was able to make the $1 million, because I had mentors. I had people who already made their fortune in real estate and took me under their wing. And because I was so curious and understanding what this whole thing is about real estate, I joined a networking group. And then I started asking the right questions. So everyone that I surrounded myself with were people that already invested in real estate. So they were able to guide me and talk the same language that I was looking for, which lended itself such an expansive way of thinking compared to the way I was thinking before.
Yeah. It's I forget who it was, but the 5 people we surround ourselves with are the ones we become most like. And so it makes sense, if you want to be wealthy in real estate, you surround yourself with those type of people.
That's right. Your net worth equals your network. So that's what's really important. And I encourage people not to buy diamonds from a bricklayer.
Yeah.
This goes really deep, because if you start asking the average person about real estate who have not been successful in real estate, they'll tell you never get into it.
Yeah.
Because they failed. And so don't listen to those people. Listen to the people who are successful. And those are the people that can definitely guide you.
So how do you go about finding these people and surrounding yourself with these people?
Well, number one, you got to get curious.
Yeah.
You've got to start asking the questions and want to learn. You've got to be a student of whatever topic that you really want to master. So then you have the opportunity. And this opportunity you get to follow and find, especially in networking groups, because people do come out and do network. I'm not sure if we froze there.
I think we did for a split second.
Okay. So just to go back, just to let you know, one of the best ways is to network. Go out and find people. Find mentors through your friends. You can also ask, who would you get guidance? Or who guided you to get to your first million, or whatever it is that you want to achieve. If it's the first time you invest in real estate, say, who could guide me into, and start asking people, and they'll say, oh yeah, I know a person, talk to them. And if it's not that person, they may guide you to another person.
Yeah. So it becomes really a personal journey of finding people, connecting with them. And I'm thinking that along that journey, it's not just the people we connect with, but there's also this energy about the universe that we're creating and putting into, just like with starting a business. It's not just this little thing that just only, I don't know, whatever. It's the energy we put into it. It becomes its own entity that lives and breathes because of the energy that we put into it. And I think on this journey that also becomes the energy and awareness and all that we nurture and cultivate it with.
Absolutely, and I agree. And you got to also remember, we're only 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah. So
within anyone that you introduce who you are and what you do, they at least know one person that can help you in their whole network of friends. So it's up to you to ask for that help. If you don't ask, you'll never receive. The whole adage law. ask and receive. It's the law of attraction.
Yeah. So I know for some people, learning how to ask can be a big process in itself. Any insights on how to bust out and realize when we need help and when to ask and who to maybe seek out first?
Well, the best book I've ever read on asking is the book called The Aladdin Factor.
Ah,
And it's actually a book by Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield,
uh-huh.
which wrote the books of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Such an amazing book because they actually tell you why certain salespeople make all the sales.
Yeah.
And the thing is, most salespeople only ask for the sale one time. And so you only have a 50% chance of making that sale when you actually ask that single time. But here's the staggering fact is that if you ask a second time, and especially if they said no, you've got a 62% chance higher of getting a yes. And the people that ask a third time, you've got up to an 80% chance of getting a yes. This is why children are so successful in getting what they want, because they keep asking and asking and asking and asking, because they all know that there's a yes factor.
Yeah. I've heard in the past too that millionaires typically are willing to ask more than others, and usually they won't give up within 3 times of asking. I think it was Mark Victor Hansen's, or I think he was part of it, but Robert Allen's 1 Minute Millionaire, where I think he
Yes.
talked about this, illustrated.
I have that book right up here in my shelf, actually, right over here. 1
Nice.
Million Millionaire. It's such a great book.
I loved it. Yeah.
Absolutely. You mentioned that, and it's about asking,
Yeah.
and to be a good receiver. So typically people show up. If let's say you're a mentor and somebody asks you some great questions, it's like, hey, this person cares about their success, and they're not going to withhold that information. They are typically generous, and they will give you the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it must be our way of filtering out the extraneous, the not as serious questions like, hey, what about this? Nah. But when they're persistent, it's like, this person, it seems important to this person. Maybe I can support him somehow. All right.
That's huge. That's masterful, because a mentor also gets much benefit in mentoring someone else, not just getting mentored yourself. So it's a reciprocal transaction.
Yeah. How do you find that to be so?
So, for example, let's say you're a student and you're sitting in a class and you're learning from a mentor or teacher. You'll only have about 12% memory retention of everything that person is teaching you. But on the reverse, if you're the person actually teaching what it is that you learned, you've got an 80% retention rate. So leadership is a language. It's a communication. So that's why if you can, at any time, learn from that mentor and then try to teach it back to someone else, because then it's a pay it forward or giving it forward method, because then you're embodying what it is that you actually learned.
Yeah, and you get to work through a lot of the questions that you wouldn't have realized you had until you were teaching it too, right?
Exactly. And that's where the pen comes in handy. You write down that question, go back to that mentor to find the information.
Yeah. The ones at least you can't figure out on your own. A lot of them you can still figure out on your own as you're teaching it, right?
That's right, sometimes, but also we don't know all the answers.
Right.
You have to ask people who do have the answers.
Yeah.
And if they don't have the answers, they probably know enough people that would have the answer. So eventually you will get the answer.
Yeah. And so do you find that mentors tend to have more of a network of knowing where to find the answers?
Yes, that is an astounding yes. And I'll tell you why is, for example, Henry Ford, in the time where the internet wasn't even around. Henry Ford was brought up in court on the stand, and all of these reporters started asking him questions to find out, hey, if this guy is super rich and one of the top 3 richest people in the world, he must be super smart. And so they started asking him all these rhetorical questions that he didn't have the answer right away. So then after several questions, he stands up and he says, you know what? He says, I'm stopping this interview. He says, the difference between me and you is that I have, by the touch of a button, where I can call up friends or coworkers that have the answers to these questions. It's because I'm resourceful and you're not. That's the reason why I'm different than you are. And that's the key.
Yeah.
If you build your network, and this is why I feel Facebook groups are the next biggest generation in connecting people on a common theme, is going to be the biggest thing, and it's happening right now.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. So how could we utilize Facebook groups to get our message out, or to build a following, or even to create an income or add to our income streams?
Oh, that's quite a few questions. So I'm going to answer in sequence. I love it. I love it.
Tell us about Facebook groups. Why would we want one?
This is what I do. So I found out about Facebook groups about 3 years ago, and about Facebook groups because I was always focusing on Facebook pages. So instead of focusing on your business and putting it on the website and having no visitors, why don't you expose your business through social media on a Facebook page so that you can be not only visible, but have people that are looking for you find you. So then I found the benefits of Facebook groups, because Facebook groups are bringing together communities of people that are on one specific topic. So for example, there's a lot of women that are coming together in power in groups. There's, and you name the topic, there is a group about that topic, because that's the reason why people have a commonality and talk. Just think of it. When you meet a new person, the first thing you're doing is you want to get to know about that person to see, can you relate on the topic? Because guess what happens when you don't relate on the topic? You're going to cut that conversation short, right? You're going to say, I'm going to go find somebody else that I can.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why. Oh, my phone's ringing. Okay. So overall, people join groups because there's a topic that everyone can talk about. I remember going to the club when I was in my 20s, and people got together at the club because they loved the music. And so everyone can relate to the music, and everyone was happy talking about that topic. So any Facebook group, based on if you have a passion for that topic, you can also talk to thousands of people about that same topic that are also as passionate as you are. And here's what I found out in being able to make money through Facebook, is that you can actually do a Facebook group challenge. And whatever topic that you actually are promoting. So for example, you're talking about awakening the earth. You can do a challenge of how to do specific action steps to awaken yourself and lead by example. And by the end of the challenge, what you do is you can offer them part of your coaching, and that's how you can make money with it. And I also found out, and I jumped for joy during the Super Bowl, not because of the teams, but because of a commercial that aired.
Oh.
And they actually showed how much commercials were worth today. And it was for 30 seconds, a company is paying $5.6 million. And I saw a Facebook commercial for 1 minute, which means that they spent $11.2 million on this commercial. Yeah. And guess what it was about?
Facebook groups.
Facebook groups. That's it. Because all these communities of people are coming together and they're making changes together. Because if somebody has one goal, it's very difficult for that person to achieve that goal. But when you have more than one person with a common goal, it's almost impossible not to achieve that goal. So what's going on is groups are coming together for a common purpose that are bigger than themselves to instill change in the world. And that's what's so exciting about all this.
Yeah. So now you've got at least one book, I think at least a couple books talking about your expertise in these Facebook groups, right?
Yes, yes. With the Facebook phenomenon, it is really a phenomenon which is what's going on right now with social media. And that's what's bringing people together. And that's why people wake up with their phone in their hand and want to know what is going on with their friends. What are they up to? What am I missing out on? How can I be connected to them? And that's why it's really important, why people want to feel not alone on social media.
Right. So So it seems like there's at least a couple main purposes here is for people to kind of connect and work together toward a common objective, and the other is maybe to create a profit center. Can you say any more about that?
Yeah, so as far as the profit center, this is the opportunity that you have to take whatever topic that is of a passion of yours and offer it to the world, because everyone is an expert and everyone is a mentor. Because a mentor is only a person that's taken one further step than what you have.
Yeah.
Because then they can teach you on how to get to that next level. And all they need to do is be one step ahead of you. That's it. They don't have to be 10 miles ahead like Tony Robbins. You can actually find somebody who's more reachable and said, for example, in real estate, they can be on their second investment property where you may only own your first property. And they can tell you how they've achieved to get that second property. You can reach that exact same level by their mentorship.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So who would want a Facebook group and who wouldn't?
Great question. So a Facebook group is amazing if you have a passion on a specific topic. So I believe everyone that is on social media is connected to some group, some way, shape, or form, because they have a passion that they want to learn about a topic. So if you have a hobby of, let's say, flying drones and taking amazing shots and what cameras, you can find a group that only talks about these best things and best practices and the new upcoming and amazing drones that are out there and what they would recommend. So imagine learning from their mistakes or learning from what they've learned so that you don't have to make those mistakes. That's what I love about coaches and mentors, is because
Yeah.
they've lived it. So
Right.
they can cut the learning curve. So for example, my real estate mentor, it took him 17 years to achieve what I've achieved in 2.5 years because he took me under his wing.
Wow.
He had some challenges along the way where he lost on some real estate deals because he wasn't educated enough, but he learned the lesson. And guess what? He shared that lesson with me without me having to go through that mistake. And that's what I love about having mentors.
Wow. Yeah, it really accelerates the learning process to be a lot shorter and quicker. Wow. Okay. So so I believe you've got some sort of an offering today for our listeners in the form of a Facebook group challenge. You want to talk any more about that?
Absolutely. So I have a Facebook group where I actually share and how to do your very own Facebook group challenge. And this is the way that I've discovered this about 3 years ago. I started doing a 21-day challenge. And I picked 21 days because I learned that it takes 21 days, 3 weeks to sustain a new habit.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm going to teach one small lesson every day for 21 days. And in that 21 days, they'll be able to get to their 5,000 friends and start having an audience. Because without an audience, you're not able to make money. You get to have an audience.
Yeah.
So I started doing this, and I found that after about 300 people joining, I finished with only about 30 to 40 people at the end. And I thought, oh my God, this attrition rate sucks because people aren't able to follow it. So I cut it down to 7-day challenges, and I got just as good results, and more people were able to stay on for that short period of time. Now I do 5-day challenges. And within those 5-day challenges, I have an action step, and it's homework for you to do so that you can actually get a result. So then what I do is I follow a 5-day process to, at the end of the 5 days, I then offer them free coaching so that they can customize their very own Facebook group challenge themselves. And in the end, if I want more coaching clients, that's what I do. I do a Facebook group challenge. I follow up with everyone on the phone. And within the half hour of a $500 coaching session that I give for free, because it's a reward that I give them for going through the challenge, I then upsell them or enroll them into my online program or one-on-one coaching.
Nice.
And this is where I've been able to, within 10 days, and that's from the beginning of the challenge to the end of the challenge of the 5 days, and then 5 days of follow-ups with everyone that's been through the challenge. I've made over $40,000 to $50,000 in that short time frame, and anyone can actually do it as well. So
Wow.
that's what I teach you. So that's why I'm encouraging, jump into the Facebook group challenge. It's facebook.com/I inspire you, as in the letter U for university.
Yep.
And in the end, you can join my group and I'll let you in. And in there is my 5-day challenge. And within that, that's a program worth over $1,000 that I give you for free. And it's exclusive to you as a reward for joining the actual group. And because of that, I want to give in generosity, give in abundance. So I actually have my ebook of Facebook marketing secrets where you can get your 5,000 friends and an extra 1,000 followers on your Facebook page in 90 days or less.
Wow. That's an amazing free offering. Now, is this ideal for only people that feel like they're already an expert in something, or is this something anyone can do if they've got an interest in something? Or
as long as you have a passion in something, you can do it. Because if you're passionate about a certain topic, you have a level of understanding because you've researched part of that passion in some way, shape, or form, that you'll be able to portray that back to your audience because you've done the research that they want to do, but they don't have time to do it. So they're going to rely on you as the expert to give them this information. So anyone that has a passion, and that's anyone who's got a heartbeat, can have a Facebook group.
so this could be any topics from like channeling angels to building a permaculture sustainable community, right?
Anything. It could be about sex, relationships, health, wealth, and even subtopics. Anything it is, anything at all, whatever you're passionate about.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Great. Anything I haven't thought to ask yet?
Well, you know what? Overall, there isn't one simple solution to gaining wealth and relationships and health. It's just take the time and do research, read, find people that have the answers, find mentors, because every single successful person has a mentor or a coach. Bill Gates has a coach. Warren Buffett has a coach. Everyone has a coach. So if you're not investing yourself within a coach, then you're trying to do it yourself, and nobody is able to be successful yourself because you only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know. So find out what it is you don't know through other people that have succeeded. And here's where we live. We live in a world that everyone's achieved whatever it is that we want to achieve. And you just have to get to find that person and then connect with them and see if they're willing to coach you, see if they're willing to mentor you.
Great, I love it. Words of wisdom.
Absolutely. Here's another thing that I found out earlier on. There was an article that determined why is it that CEOs and presidents of companies make on average 10 times the wages of an employee. And they asked 16 specific questions. And there was only one major question that made the differentiating factor. And that question was, how many books do you read a year? The average employee only read less than one book a year.
Wow.
Less than one. Whereas the average president and CEO actually read over 50 books a year. Yes. And there's more than one way to read a book. There's audiobooks today. There's Audible, where they actually condense the book and just teach you the most important parts of a book as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different podcasts that do book reviews. So instead of spending 10 hours in reading a book, you can get an abbreviated version within an hour. And you can accelerate your process of learning that way, for sure. Absolutely. So reading books is what I love to do. I read over 100 books a year, and I do that a lot. I read about one book a month physically, and then I also listen to audiobooks because I do drive, especially going to appointments. I'm always listening to audiobooks.
Yeah, I know Blinkist, I think, is an app, and Philosopher's Notes, Brian Johnson does an amazing job with all of that. And
great resources. Yes, Jeremy, that's it.
For sure. We can get the wisdom from these super successful people in a short amount of time, which helps to raise the frequency of our thoughts, our thinking to where they might be. So it's kind of like bringing them in as friends in a way, right?
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, we have all these resources at our fingertips. So
Yeah.
go for it. You're only going to be as successful as to the degree of the questions that you ask.
Yeah.
And if you're not curious, you're going to stay stagnant. You're not going to be growing. So if you want to grow, start asking questions. Get curious. Want more information. And then your life becomes easier. Magically, it just becomes easier.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to say for the listeners, I've experienced Mike living in abundance, and I would love to see more and more people living that way. And it seems to me a testimony that you live what you've learned, what you teach, and that I feel honored to have you in my life as somebody that I can look up to, that I can call, that I can work with and figure some of these things out. So I've appreciated getting to know you and taking my life to the next level in the financial sense and some of the stuff that we're working on, and really appreciate it. So I want to thank you again for being on the show. Any other final words? Or
well, I also want to reciprocate and tell you that I'm very honored to be on the show, but I'm also honored to be your friend, because what you're doing right now with this summit and your past summits, you're bringing resources to the world that they may not have ever heard about. And now these concepts, they get to understand and see if there's an interest. And if there is, they get to envelop and bring this part of their heart, because it shapes you as a person to become better. And you get to have an effortless life because of it. So I love that you're bringing these types of resources to us, because you're an expert in specific ways that I'm not an expert, and I get to learn from you. And with all of these other experts that you have on your show, I encourage the audience, if you're watching now, watch all of the interviews, because you'll get a very broad base of what it is to live life in a new way that you may not have thought before, which is actually the new standard today.
yeah.
It doesn't have, life does not have to be hard. 90% of people are poor. Doesn't have to be that way. So be part of the top 10%. And this is what they do. They learn from resources that you're providing, Jeremy. So thank you, brother, for the honor.
All right. Yeah, thanks again to the listeners. This has been a production of earthiswakingup.com. And Mike's button is below for his offer. And we'll look forward to next time. Much love.